So follow this similar pattern. I'll give a short talk and then we can have some inquiry, open it up for any responses or questions you might have. I've been talking these last few months about some of the cautions and trying to get some insight into the conditions, the obstacles to awakening and liberation, freedom. And this seems to fall in line for me with the beginning of the Eightfold Path. And for those who are familiar with the Buddha's teachings, of course, the first of the Eightfold Path is right understanding. And that is described as an understanding of the first three noble truths. So it's an understanding of suffering and especially the causes of suffering, and that real experience of the freedom from suffering. So until we have a real depth of understanding that freedom is available and possible, then we always run into the trap, if you like, of the spiritual path being a bit of an entertainment or distraction. So I don't think getting into the real depth of understanding comes until we do have a real insight into the causes of suffering and the conditioning that plays such an important role in keeping us stuck in old patterns. And I talked about previously about the different movements of mind. And I thought tonight I might say something about time. And been thinking about this a bit lately. And of course, we're all aware of chronological time. The physical time, the time takes the Earth to go around the sun, and daylight and nighttime and the moon phases, and the time it takes us to do things, and the time it takes from birth to death. There's a sort of chronological time, if you like. And I think somewhere along the line, man is taking that chronological time and superimposed it, if you like, on the psychological, on the inner life. And I feel this can be incredibly problematic. So when I'm talking about the psychological time, it's the time we impose upon ourselves, if you like, the time to get there, the time to acquire, the time to overcome old habits, or the time to acquire, or the time it takes to have an insight into our conditioning. All these are, I think, taken over from our idea of chronological time. And I'm not sure if actually that time exists. And what I fear about thinking in this way, that I need time is somehow involved in awakening or into seeing clearly. That seems to me to, if we're not careful, to really confirm the sense of self. So I need to meditate every day. I need to do such and such. I need to let go of all these bad habits. And all these are important or valuable accomplishments, but all they seem to be doing is confirming and contracting the sense of self. The I need to do this. There's that separation again, that division between where I am and where I think I should be. And that's a movement. So that's time. And it's all really connected with thought as well here, because this is a thought. The thought that I need to do this, or I need to get there. And if we look at time as in regards to the past and the present, as far as our inner psychology is concerned, when we think about the past, as in memory, that is only thoughts and interpretations that we present in the present. It's not the actual past. The actual past is not here anymore. And the same with the future, it's just speculation. And we seem to get caught in this movement of thought that is connected with time. Thought is time. So when I'm worrying about what's going to happen next, there's this element of time, and it's thought that is reinforcing that whole concept. And it creates tension. So can I see when this arises, when these thoughts arise? This is connected with worry, regret. So regret about the past, worrying about the future, anxiety about the future. All these are concepts in the present that thought is producing, that is connected with this whole enforcing, if you like, the idea of psychological time. And it is reinforcing the sense of self. So these are all tied together: thought, time, and the concept of self are totally meshed together and integrated. So time, in that sense, in the inner sense, creates the sense of self. If I didn't think about who I am, what I did, what I should be, what I did wrong, then the I is not substantial. The I isn't present. The I is present as a thought in time. This is such a deep teaching. And the Buddha emphasized it in his teaching about the ending of becoming. So he's saying here that it's the ending of this being caught up in this whole idea that I exist in time, that I am limited to that thought of me being a substantial entity that is moving through time. And I, of course, because chronological time is a truth, it seems obvious to us that the whole idea of psychological time is true as well. And that's why it is so hard to see into and let go of that habit, because it seems an obvious truth. But if we inquire into it, if we question this whole idea, and we think about and inquire into, is there an I moving through time? Is the I feel now the same I as yesterday, or the same I think will be there tomorrow? And that I is dependent on the conditions that are present at the moment, the time. And we know that I, the sense of that I, changes and gets stronger and deeper and more contracted when we're depressed or when we're suffering. And that sense of self is very open and light when we're not caught in the I thought, the I am. So if we're entering this path with an understanding of the cause of suffering, we come right back to that depth of understanding of the construct of self. And if we can watch how this movement, how the I thought moves in time, how we create the I story as it was and how it should be or how it's going to be, we can see these habits and patterns of mind. And with a sense of becoming, it enters into all areas of our practice. There's a sense of either reward or there's a sense of not good enough, not achieving. These are all more frustration. Well, the whole idea of the path can be a way of avoiding suffering. So those first three noble truths that the Buddha talked about, the first one, of course, is acknowledging the present experience. So that there is not this division, this separation between I and the experience. There's not the judger, the watcher. It's not happening to me. It's just arising and occurring. A completely different way of looking at life, responding to our experience. But then the experience is not in time, just this present experience. So can the mind that is so full of views and opinions and self-importance come to a point where it sees how it's caught in this movement of time, how the I is a construct of thought. And so can it get to the point, I think, where it's psychologically unable to move? It's seen that any movement of thought, time, self is not in any way alleviating suffering. It's actually enhancing and continuing to recreate suffering. So if we see that there is no opportunity for movement, all the only opportunity there is to be open to present experience. So this is the stillness before the mind moves. This is thought that is not caught in time. Then thought is a valuable asset. And incredible function in the physical world and chronological world, the chronological movement of time. But it's only in the stillness that the freedom and insight can occur. And insight is a flash. It's not a movement in time. It's like, as they say, the Tibetans say, it's like a flash of lightning in the sky. And through that flash comes a real depth of understanding. And then thought can move from that flash, from that understanding. And thought is a valuable asset, not a problem. So I think it's good to look into and question and observe the movement of mind. Now, how many times the mind is caught up in this sequence of thought and time? Just to notice. Not trying to overcome that habit, because that's the movement of time, but the observer observing without the observer is superimposing on what's arising. So just some areas here that I start to unpack the causes and conditions, which is second noble truth. And when that flash of lightning comes, when there's that stillness, that insight, where the mind is not caught, the mind sees how any movement is an obstacle. And just for that moment, that real present experience. Then this timeless element of the mind. There is no psychological time. The mind is timeless. The mind is not personal. The mind is vast, and all movement arises from it. Thank you, everyone.